Welcome friends to another r/entitled parents video. If you can't help but just have curiosity about all these entitled people, make sure to hit the like and subscribe buttons down below and join in. That said, our first story of the day is by Dazed Missile. Entitled woman demands I leave the bus because my eye is scaring her baby. For a bit of context, I was born with only 7 months in the womb instead of 9. That said, it appears the right side of my body didn't form in a fully correct way. It's not that I'm deformed or don't even look human, I just have some weird characteristics in my right side of the body. Like a small birthmark, one of my fingers in my right hand always looks jammed, and the most noticeable, my right eye is a bit smaller than the other and has a tiny deformity in the cornea. That being said, my right eye sometimes goes a bit to the right when I get too concentrated or too distracted, and I can't control it. It just happens randomly and stops randomly. And I've been told that when I'm on moving vehicles, my eye seems to move alongside it, like when it jumps or trembles, my eye does too. But I've talked about this to many medics and doctors, and they've all told me the same. No surgery can fix it, and an eye patch would only make my eyesight worse. I have glasses, by the way, like I can't see. And by that I mean I sometimes can't read big letters on the other side of the road. So having said that, let's move to the story. Here where I live, when you reach middle or high school, it's the same here, secondary school, it's just basic and advanced/orientated. You no longer have PE classes at school, but on a club, paid by the school. So to move there, I used the bus. The ride there that day was quite peaceful. Just one whining baby, but that's not a big deal. But oh, the ride home, that was not. After 15 minutes waiting in the sun, the bus finally arrived and I hopped in, paid for my ride, and sat down. Just a few stops later, enter the entitled mother and the entitled kid of the story. So I was sitting at almost the back of the bus, and this lady who looked like she was around her late 40s and this kid who looked to be around 12 or 13 years walked to the back. The entitled mother made a loud ahem noise, but I was not moving. There literally were seats next to her. It's just that they were one-passenger seats on the right side of the bus. Naturally, none of us moved. She just huffed and sat down. The kid with her didn't sit down and was just standing. Until the woman that was sitting next to me left, so he asked if he could sit there, and I moved to let him pass. Now, this gave him a good look of my right eye since he was next to it. At first he didn't seem to notice, but then, oh gosh, he just stares at me for a full 10 minutes with a "this is so wrong" kind of face. Then moves from the seat and up to his mom. He didn't even whisper. They say, "Mom, did you see that girl's eye? It's weird, is she disabled or something?" I pretended not to hear her since I didn't want any trouble, but then this woman walks up to me and says, "Excuse me, may I see your eye for a moment?" I wasn't sure of what she was doing, but my stupid butt decided to look at her anyway, and there she saw my eye. She says, "Oh gosh, disgusting. Would you mind not doing that so close to my baby?" I say, "Doing what now?" She says, "Moving your eye like that. It's rude, stop it." I say, "No, I can't. I would if I could." She says, "You brat, stop lying. Kids these days are so uneducated." Now the lady's yelling actually made the driver move to a stop and, well, stop and walk up to us. The driver says, "What seems to be the problem here?" The entitled mother says, "This brat is scaring my baby. Just look at her moving her eye like that. You should remove her from this bus." Now, I didn't fully hear the entire conversation since the driver made her walk away from me to talk, but after almost 15 minutes of her yelling, kicking, screaming, and pointing in my direction, she just grabbed her kid's hand and stormed out of the bus. The driver just continued without a word. It happened like 40 minutes ago, and I'm so confused. You know, it's kind of like this entitled mother doesn't realize that not everybody is exactly the same. If you were in an OP situation and somebody treated you like that, would you be able to stay as calm as OP did here? I feel like OP was acting like a saint in this story compared to what I would be feeling. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Our next story is by Dry Sprinkle 6191, entitled "Mom Tries to Steal My Birthday Present." So it was my birthday a couple of weeks ago, and a few days ago, my mom came back from visiting my aunt and gave me a nice bag that my aunt had bought for me and told me to call her to say thanks. And so I did, and this is what happened. I said, "Hey Aunt, thank you so much for the bag, it's really nice, I love it." Aunt says, "Thank you honey, but what about the backpack I bought for you? Because it's really nice and you can take it to uni." I say, "What backpack?" Aunt says, "Oh, I gave your mom a backpack to give you. She didn't give it?" I say, "Nope, she only gave me the bag." So I go talk to my mother, and this is how it goes. I say, Mom, Aunt said she sent a backpack, but you only gave me the bag. Entitled mother says, oh, sorry, she told me only the bag was for you. I say, that's weird, I just talked to her, and she told me she sent it to me to use for uni. Entitled mother says, no, she must be confused, but hey, here, I have an old backpack, you can take it. I say, that is also my backpack that you took because you liked it so much, and I was doing online school. A few days later, I say, so I'm finally going back to in-person classes tomorrow, and I would really love to use my new backpack. Can you give it to me? Entitled mother says, no, I talked to your aunt, and she said I could keep it. I knew that was a lie, so I just took my backpack and left while she kept screaming. I think what's weird is they tried to gamble on this, saying, go thank your aunt for the present, hoping that OP would say something that wasn't confused for just one present. Didn't work out for the entitled mother, but usually these entitled thought processes aren't too well thought out, so kind of expected that it blew up. Our next story is by Screwball. Entitled mother demands a photo shoot of her bratty son pretending to work in a store. I'm 16, I'm in college, and I don't have any classes on Thursdays. So I work Thursdays and weekends behind the juice bar and a big local coffee shop. My neighbors, I live with my dad most of the time, are a couple with one kid who's an 11-year-old boy. Basically, the mom is a bit insane. I literally dread running into her, so I wasn't super thrilled when she knocked on my door last week and asked if I could bring her kid, let's call him Jake, to work with me that Thursday for his school's Take Your Kid to Work Day. She explained that since she's a housewife and her husband is a surgeon, aka he works in a super high-speed, high-stakes environment, neither of them could do it. I've made a fair share of her post-yoga green juices, so I couldn't really deny the fact I work Thursdays, so I said, hey, why not? I figured, how bad could it be? I'll just take the kid along with me and he can drop a few oranges into the machine or something. Oh my god, was I wrong. Thursday comes, and I pick Jake up in the morning on my way to work. We arrive and, upon the store's opening, he immediately starts kicking up a fuss about not having full creative control over the customer's juices. I'm talking like, someone orders strawberry banana and he wants to add a zucchini. Eventually, this gets annoying as he won't stop shoving me around. This kid is pretty much the same size as me, so I stick him in the break room to get a snack and cool off. 20 minutes later, the door opens, and who other than Jake's mom walks in with a massive, very professional-looking camera around her neck and a tripod tucked under her arm. Keep in mind, it's now 10 a.m. in the city center. The store is far from empty. This woman proceeds to walk up to the juice bar and announce to me while I'm midway through making a customer's order that I have to let Jake make some juices so she can do a photo shoot of him working. I didn't really know what to say to that, so I just told her he'd have a go at helping with some orders, under my instruction, and he'd flat out refuse to do it right. I then asked her to wait a second while the customer I was serving pays for his drink. She did not like this. She asks where Jake is. I say the break room. She opens the little staff gate thingy and walks behind the juice bar and up to the break room. My coworker, who'd been watching this whole mess unfold, runs after her while I get done ringing up the poor customer's juice. Jake runs into his mom's arms and starts sniffling about how I apparently locked him in the break room with no food or water. Lies. Now my manager's on the scene. He's having a shouting match with Jake's mom. My coworker and I are trying to shoo mom and kid back onto the shop floor. It's just a general mess. Suddenly, Jake drops to the ground like a freaking ragdoll. As in, he goes totally quiet, totally limp. This kid is pulling the full turn down for what? I thought he got pushed over, and so I go to help him up. But when I touch his arm, his mom shoves me and starts cradling him, wailing about, look what you did. Keep in mind, there are several customers seated in here. Everyone in the shop is watching. I just stood there like an idiot staring at this banshee of a woman kneeling over her fake dead son. My manager was obviously getting increasingly furious, and eventually the mom hoists Jake up, who is magically revived, and the pair storms out. We're all completely silent in disbelief for a few seconds, all just wondering what the heck went down. I decided to post this on here because when I came into work last Saturday, my manager informed me that my mom had come into the store the previous day, suggesting I be fired. Ladies and gentlemen, please bring in the Oscar. The Oscar goes to Entitled Mother's son, Jake, for their performance on the coffee shop floor. This is their first nomination and first win. Our next story is by Scarlett O'Wild. Entitled mother changes baby's nappy on Café table. I'm sitting in a small cafe in a village in Surrey, having some lunch with a friend. It's a wealthy village and has its fair share of 4x4 driving entitled mothers and their SBs, but this one really takes the biscuit. Despite the cafe having a bathroom with space for baby changing, entitled mother, having finished her coffee, puts her baby on the table, people around her eating and it's a small space, removes their clothing and pulls off a poop-filled nappy which she puts on the table and proceeds to wet wipe her baby's bum. The smell was atrocious. Other customers just shared horrified looks and the young waitress just stood there and looked scared. I spoke up, just had to. "You know there's a lavatory in the back," I said, in my best headmistress voice. Entitled mother gave me a look that would curdle milk and retorted, "Why don't you freak off and mind your own freaking business?" I stood up, felt the red mist descending, which is a very rare event as I'm very laid back. Usually, I really wanted to take the poopy nappy and rub her face in it. My friend pipes up, Canadian, another mellow person, but the smell in a steaming hot small cafe was making everyone gag. They say, "People have got to eat off that table. I don't understand how you don't get that." Entitled mother starts swearing and shouting about us being a pair of freaking witches, etc., and the baby starts wailing. She very roughly starts manhandling the poor kid into a nappy, roughly pulls up its leggings, and it screams as she's obviously hurting it. Then she shoves the kid into its pushchair, knocks past several people's tables and seats, comes over to us by the door, hawks and spits a huge piece of phlegm onto our table. My face got sprayed on its trajectory down. Feeling murderous by now, I stood up to slap her, but my friend held onto my arm. I did tell entitled mother she was disgusting and should be banned from being in any cafe for her behavior. She raised her hand to hit me, thought better of it, and stormed out, forcing the buggy with the poor child in it into the door and took off down the street. And she left with a poopy nappy right on the table for the staff to clean up. We haven't been to that cafe since. No idea why anyone would behave like that. I think the most disappointing thing here is OP said that they haven't been to that cafe since. Isn't it sad that somebody who acts like a total idiot, total jerk, influences people to never come back to a place that had no involvement or say in any of that happening? And frankly, I think that entitled mother should be locked up. They did some too much stuff. And our final story of the day is by Craggle Tom. An agreement was made with Evil Mamabear. Well, my sister and future brother-in-law went to court and finally got the restraining order against Evil Mamabear. So all the details I have on this are from them. No surprise, Evil Mamabear decided to try and fight the restraining order, so they had to go in for a hearing. I wasn't able to see it since, if I was there, Evil Mamabear couldn't be because of the restraining order I have against her. My sister told me Evil Mamabear arrived a few minutes late to court and then hobbled in like a depressed wreck. She tried looking like a sad and lonely little old lady to the judge for a while by claiming that my sister wasn't in her right state of mind, and she was only trying to protect her from people like me and future brother-in-law. She actually said that I was evil and poisoning my sister's mind, and that future brother-in-law was doing the same, and went on to say a mother knows best and her daughter needed to come home so she could make her better because she needed guidance. The judge didn't buy her act for a moment because he'd seen the evidence they have against Evil Mamabear. Not that her act would have even have helped, because she didn't even play the part of a sad old lady very well. The judge ended up admonishing her and saying that her daughter is a grown woman and can make her own decisions, meaning that Evil Mamabear has no right to decide anything for her. Evil Mamabear disagreed, and the judge asked her how well she knew the law. She didn't have an answer for him. Then he said he knew the law because he'd been enforcing it for 30 years. And in no way does it grant Evil Mamabear any sort of control over her daughter because she's a grown and perfectly lucid woman with her own life. To further her case, my sister then brought up the recent letter Evil Mamabear sent and remarked what they did to it. Sis said that Evil Mamabear started crying the moment they said they burned it. Evil Mamabear fully admitting to sending the letter and cried that she was just trying to protect my sister. My sister told me she said something like, "From what? The only person who's tried to hurt me is you. You even demanded I abort my baby. You're the one I need protection from. I'm never gonna live with you again. I'm never even gonna visit you. Even if you lived right next door, I wouldn't bother to even look in your direction." Apparently that made Evil Mamabear start crying and pound her fists on the table. The judge silenced her, and very surprisingly enough, once she was called out, there was no more real drama at all from Evil Mamabear. Sis said she didn't even bother to fight the judge on anything else, let alone speak much once the videos of her trying to take my house and attacking my sister were played. We expected her to keep up with her usual act, but with all the evidence against her, She didn't bother to try and deny anything. She just stood there and quietly looked like her world had ended. But there's more to it. At this point, it was assured my sister and future brother-in-law would get the restraining order hands down. So before the verdict was rendered, the family lawyer actually made a deal with Evil Mamabear on my sister and future brother-in-law's behalf, stating that if Evil Mamabear never tries to contact them again for the rest of her life, or go after any sort of grandparents' rights, they'll drop any charges they have against her and won't go after her for a hate crime either. And as icing on the cake, this was all in a written contract that Evil Mamabear bitterly signed with a judge presiding as witness. He actually found this quite amusing, I'm told. Sis said the angry look of defeat on Evil Mamabear's face made it all worth it. And after signing the contract, Evil Mamabear openly took the moment to tell my sister how disappointed she was in her for taking my side and leaving her all alone, just so Sis could shack up with a man she didn't approve of and make a half-breed baby with him. Then she told future brother-in-law exactly what she thought of him in some very not-so-polite terms. But Sis said she avoided using the racial slurs this time, probably because she was in a courtroom. Then Evil Mamabear loudly stated that she just doesn't care anymore because her life is ruined and she doesn't want to see any of us ever again. She then submitted to the restraining order and left the courtroom as soon as she could. So aside from now being officially denounced by most of the family and having multiple restraining orders against her, my mother just has to tie up what loose ends she has left with the police and courts, then sell her house. Then she'll go back to Texas and hopefully never bother any of us again. I mean, OP laid out all the evidence. Harassment, racial motivations, it's just, the entitled mother deserved everything they got here. But with that being said, that's all the time we have for today. So of all these stories I've read today, which is your favorite and why? Let me know in the comments down below. And if you haven't yet, if you could like and subscribe, that would mean a lot to me. Whatever you do, whether it's liking, subscribing, turning notifications on, all of it helps grow this channel and I appreciate the heck out of it. So until next time, I'll see you all tomorrow with some more stories.